Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about voice change. This is the sixth part of our discussion. So let's start. Now we will discuss about voice change for interrogative sentence. Basically, there are two type of questions. Number one, WS question. Number two, yes no questions. Now look at the WS question. The sentence starts with WH word like who is, whom, when, why, where, how, etc. and ends with question mark. It is called WH question. Now see example. How did you do it? Look at the sentence. The sentence starts with WH word how and ends with question mark. That's why it is a WH question. Now yes no questions. The sentence starts with helping verb like am, is, are, was, were, has, have, do, does, did, etc. and ends with the question mark. Now see example. Have you read the story? So look at the sentence. This sentence starts with helping verb have and ends with question mark. That's why it is a yes no question. Now what is the difference between WH question and yes no questions? Look, WH question starts with WH word, okay, like who is, whom, when, etc. And yes no question starts with helping verb. This is the difference between WH question and yes no questions. Now we'll discuss about voice change for WH questions. Look at the basic rule for voice change. At first we need to use WH word, then helping verb, then object, then verb thought from, then by, then subject, then question mark. This is the basic rule for voice change in case of WH questions. Now there is an exception. In case of who, rule for voice change will be slightly different from the basic rule. Now you need to remember here who will be changed into by whom. So, I repeat again, who will be changed into by whom. So at first we need to use by whom, then helping verb, then object, then verb thought from, then question mark. So in case of who, this exception we need to remember. Other rules will be applicable here. We need to use being in case of the continuous tense, been in case of the perfect tense, be in case of modal verbs. If we find do or does as a helping verb in the active voice, in the passive voice am, is, are will be used in place of do or does. So if we find do or does as a helping verb, then you need to remove this do or does, and in place of do or does you need to use either am or is or are. If you find did as a helping verb in the active voice, in the passive voice was or were will be used in place of did. So if you find did, remove it and use either was or were. In some cases we will find exception as well, but if we remember these above points, then it is very easy for doing voice change in case of WH questions. Now see some example. The first example, how did you do it? Here how WH word, did helping verb, you subject, do main verb, it object. So at first we use WH word how, then helping verb was, because we find did in the active voice. So in place of did we need to use either was or were. Okay, here object is singular, that's why we use was. Then object it, we use it. Then third form of do, done. Then by, then subject you and question mark. Now see the next example. Why did she say this? Okay, here why WH question, did helping verb, she subject, say main verb, and this object. So we use at first why WH word, then in place of did we use was, then object this, then third form of say, said, then by, and then she changed into her. and question mark. Now see the next example. This example in case of who. So this is the example of who. Okay. Now who killed the tiger? So who killed the tiger? So in this case we need to remember who will be changed into by whom. So we use by whom at first. Then was, because look at the verb killed in the active voice. It is in the past tense. That's why we use was. Then the object tiger, then third form of killed, then question mark. So thus we can change voice for the WS questions. Now we will talk about voice change for yes no questions. Look at the basic rule for voice change. At first we use helping verb, then object, then verb third form, then by, then subject, then question mark. Other rules will be applicable here. We need to use being in case of the continuous tense, been in case of the perfect tense, be in case of modal verbs, etc. If you find do or does as a helping verb in the active voice, in the passive voice, am, is, are will be used in place of do or does. So if you find do or does, we need to remove it, and in place of it we need to use am, is, are. But remember, do does should be a helping verb, not the main verb. If you find did as a helping verb in the active voice, in the passive voice was or were will be used in place of did. So if you find did, remove it and use was, were. Okay, but remember, again you should remember, did should be used as a helping verb, not as a main verb. Now see some examples. The first example, have you read the story? Here have helping verb, you subject, read main verb, the story object. And this sentence is in the perfect tense. Now see the passive. So at first we use has, then the object story, then for perfect tense we use been, then third from operate, that is read, then by, then subject you, then question mark. So has the story been read by you? This is the passive form. Here one thing you need to remember, use of have or has. Okay, I just tell you use of has. Okay, use when you find the subject except I, we and you, I, we and you, and singular noun or pronoun, then you can use has, and in all other cases you need to use have. Now see the next example. Did you complete it? Active voice. So here did helping verb, you subject, complete main verb, it object. Okay, so at first we use was in place of did, then it object, then third form of complete, that is completed, then use by, then subject you, then question mark. Now see the third example. Should I shut the shop? Active voice. Okay, here should helping verb. Remember, should is a modal helping verb. Then I subject, then shut main verb, then the shop object. So we use at first should, then object the shop, then for modal verb we need to use be, then third form of shut, then by, then I change into me, and then question mark. Why we use here be? Because should is a modal verb, and in case of modal verb we need to use be in the passive voice, so we need to use be here. For this concept, I need to take help from the book Highlights of English by P.K. Mukherjee. Hopefully, all of you are able to understand voice change for interrogative sentence. You need to study the rules again and again, and practice is necessary. So that's the end of today's discussion. Enjoy the presentation and learn happily. Thank you so much. Goodbye.